everyone, Terry Wilson here, reporting for pressfortruth.ca. We're at Conspiracy Culture Bookstore here in Toronto for a presentation and book reading from Brian O'Day. Brian was one of Canada's most notorious pot smugglers and spent prison time in the United States and here in Canada.
Somebody told me. And, it wasn't very long after that I went to prison for the first time. Actually, it was for hash. I got 19 months in a prison that had no toilets, no running water. One visit every 2 weeks for 15 minutes. No phones. This was in Newfoundland. St. John's, Newfoundland. We used to line up every morning with our buckets. Those were our toilets. And dump them in a hopper. The worst job in the joint was the hopper attendant. You can imagine. You're the guy with the hosing all that stuff down. And you can guarantee whoever had that job was in there on a drug conviction. Not murder, not rape, drugs.
The last load we did was 75 tons of pot. We split over 2 loads. We did the first part, we got it in, it was 25 tons. We went back and got the second part over in Vietnam. We brought it back over, and what we did was we repackaged everything in fish boxes. It looked like fish, because we had a fishing business up in Alaska. And so we pulled our boats. I had 3 ships, 160-foot longliner with an automatic Marco longliner. It was a fish killing machine. 100-foot tender vessel that packed fish for people and carried it, and 58-foot longliner. So these were all part of our game, but they were fishing boats. They fished all the time. We only did the pot thing with these boats twice.
And I knew right then and there that this was not over. You could throw an egg on the face of mediation and walk away, and I don't think so. So, you know what? We spent the next 2 years having a wonderful time. We had a lot of money, we had a lot of fun. We did $250 million in business. I never saw it done, we never lost a time. And I do deals with people, with strangers, who took out $10 million in suitcases and never had a problem. And that's the way that business went.
So Brian, your story is quite an inspiration. To anybody who's out there right now struggling with any kind of addictions or things like that, what would be your best piece of advice for them?
People struggling with addictions, well, if anyone is struggling with addictions, the very first thing has to happen is they have to admit that they've got a problem. Until you can own the problem, you can't do anything about it. Most people, when they're struggling in addictions, it's not their problem. It's someone else's problem, and that's why it can't get fixed. If that was this, and this was that, and this was that, and then if that was moved over there, then I get sober. But you see, it looks like an outside job from the inside when you're addicted, but it's really an inside job. And the inside job begins with, I got a problem and I need help. That's it. And so just from the agreement that I make with myself for the first time, I've got a problem. Unseen forces line up to propel you forward out of that problem. But until you do that, those forces stand by and wait for you. Wait for you. And you know what? As addicts, your pain is always a price I'm willing to pay. Whatever it is, your pain is always a price I'm willing to pay. Until I own that pain, I cannot change. Until it's my pain, I cannot change. And I really can get there then when I realize that when the pain is mine, then I have a problem that I'm willing to admit. When the pain finally gets to be too much. One of 2 things is going to happen. I'm going to die, or I'm going to get better. That's where you end up.
Perfect. You brought it up in your presentation a little bit. I guess I would call it government complacency with what's happening in the drug culture, especially with things like opiates and things of that nature. What do you think needs to change in our society to break away from the punishment, the imprisonment, to switching to more of a system that's helping these people?
Well, we have to remove the corrections model, period. Take the corrections model out of the equation. We're using corrections for broken people. We're using corrections to try and fix weaknesses. We're using corrections to deal with medical issues. What's up with that? We elect people into government who think this is a good idea. Who's electing these people? Look, Russell Brand said recently, I don't vote and I've never voted. And I tell you why, I'm not going to be complicit. It doesn't matter who you vote for, you get the same thing. And I couldn't agree more. We have to change things. But you know what? I can't change you. I can't change the world. Thank God I finally come to the realization I cannot change anything but me. I can only do that. Then I'm responsible to change me. That's the only way I can change the world, period. And that's all I'm going to do, by the way. I'm going to keep changing me. That's it.
Perfect. So it's personal responsibility rather than even relying on a government or a state.
Never rely on a government. Why would anyone rely on a government or a state? They will own you the moment you do that. I want to rise independently as a citizen among other like-minded citizens. That's what I want. I want a community where we love each other, want to help each other, a community where we don't blame poverty on the poor or the crime that happens on the broken. That's the community I want to live in. So I am that person today. I say that I am that person. I act that I am that person. That's the only... I am a rock dropped in a pond. It has ripples. They ripple out. They get smaller and smaller, bigger and bigger, in a certain sense, the farther out they go, but they're thinner and thinner. So, but close to where my rock is dropped, I make a big impact. And you do too. So we're all rocks in this pond. We all have spheres of influence. We all have the ripple effect around us. So be the person that you need to be, and those around you will become the people that they need to be with greater ease, because you are. Seems to me.
Makes total sense to me. Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's going on with Health Canada and the medical marijuana, changing it where people are not going to be allowed to grow their own if they have medical licenses.
Right, they want the corporate growth is okay. Personal growth is not. It's so typical of this government and every government. Why? Because they're bought by these corporations. They are bought and paid for and owned by those corporations. To tell a person who is sick that they cannot grow a plant that fixes them, who are you? Who are you that you would do that? Sorry.
No problem, it's agreed. I think it gets to all of us. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you brought out it's the corporate takeover of it.
Yeah.
With the help of the states and everything else. You also brought up the opium in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I think they're really trying to gain control over that whole system where people are going to be able to help themselves medically. They still want to have their monopoly over it. Would you agree with that?
I agree that they want to, they have their own idea about how it should be, but listen, they have their own political idea that sounds right to say politically to garner votes. Tough on crime, lock them up, sounds good, gets votes, and you got all these fixed-minded people who think that's right. That's wrong, and simple as that. For all you fixed-minded people who think it's right, it's wrong. There is a better way. You see, look, I like to say this. Until we are prepared to make a different mistake, things will never change. This isn't working. Okay, it's not working, but this is all we have. No, it isn't. There are a million other options, so let's try this one. Oh, that's not working. Well, let's not spend $1 trillion on it. Let's try something else. That's not working. Okay, let's try something else. Only if we're prepared to make new mistakes can we make the change in the right direction. You've got to be prepared to make new. We're not prepared to make any mistakes. We're making the biggest mistake we could ever make right now, but we're not prepared to make a new one. Holy mackerel. You know, okay, don't grow, don't change. They have a saying in Hollywood that goes, don't ever change, babe, stay the way you are. You're great, babe, don't ever change. When I got sober, we came up with this idea. Change, babe, don't ever stay the same.
I like it.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect. So I recommend to everybody, grab Brian's book.
And get it, everybody, at, where are we going to get it? We're going to get it at Conspiracy Culture, 1696 Queen Street West, just
east of Roncesvalles on the north side of the street. Come here, see this place. It is amazing, and you'll love the family that owns it.